Hello and welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelley and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be more environmentally friendly in a modern context. And today I'm really excited for today's video because it's been kind of a long time coming. If you follow my channel back in January, you noticed that I, on the first day of January, when all of your hopes for the new year are fresh and uncorrupted, I was vacuuming and I hit my nightstand and I knocked my alarm clock off the nightstand, and then my alarm clock, all the numbers were jumbled. And I was just like, great, this is a great way to start the year. And on top of it, before it hit the floor, it hit my foot. So I was like, great, I killed my alarm clock on day one. And so that kind of inspired me to have a video about repair. And I know we talk about that a lot. You talk about reduce, try to, the 3 R's of reusing is reduce, try not to use so much, reuse, which is like upcycling, recycle, which is, putting things back into the circle. But another R that is really important is repair. And I thought this would be a great example to talk about what you can do to repair things instead of throwing it away. And I know a lot of people don't bother with alarm clocks. We're living in a cell phone world where you might leave your phone on all night and with the alarm, or you might have other ways you might wake up naturally. I understand. But I do utilize an alarm clock, and the one that got broken was actually one that I've had for many decades. And it was just really a good size. It was a perfect size. I could put it on radio, I could put it on buzz, and the buzz is just loud enough for me to hear without me disturbing anyone. I was really sad when it broke, and I thought, okay, what would be a good way? I could use that as an example. And in the meantime, while the alarm clock was broken, I did have a backup one that was like an older radio that I had gotten at a thrift store. And believe it or not, I really got used to using that alarm. It was not bad. It was a good intermediary one. But to be honest, I kind of wanted to use that other radio more as like a kitchen radio for listening to music rather than using the alarm feature. But it was a good substitute. It was a good replacement just in the interim. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today is I had a little bit of an adventure, and I got a chance to get out of my house and go enjoy a repair service that's in my community. And I was very inspired by this. So I had seen in my community where I live, there is a group there's actually a naturalist group, a grassroots group, who purchased a farm, an actual barn in my county, in my state, and not far from where I live. And for the purpose of making it a kind of a naturalist community where people can come and children can come, there's gardens, and it's a really beautiful place. They have a pollinator garden. They sell plants. It isn't open 24/7. You do have to schedule the times that you come, but it's volunteer run. And it's just an amazing place. You have places where, there's picnic tables, there's gardens, you can volunteer to learn about the plants. There's a medicine area. And it's, and over the summer, it's just a really good place to go to, have a nice connection to nature. And the building is absolutely gorgeous. If I had $1 million and I could buy a barn and turn it into like a house, it was a really, really nice place. And they did it so organically, and it was just really nice being there. And so I had heard about it before, that they host something called a Repair Cafe. And Repair Cafe, and again, this is volunteer run, the second Saturday starting in April. I think it goes from like April to October. During the warm months, they don't hold it over winter, I don't think. But starting in spring and ending in fall, the second Saturday of every month, they have volunteers, people who know how to repair things, like repair anything. Like there was a lady there with a sewing machine, so if you need to mend garments, we had somebody who was was a specialist in refrigeration and heaters. We had, and of course I needed someone to help me with a alarm clock. So I went ahead and I went online and I scheduled my appointment. And when I pulled up to the farm, it was so wonderful because my appointment time was right at the same time that it's almost kind of like a farmer's market. They sell plants, and I was smelling something when I pulled up and I saw all the plants for sale. I was smelling something so good, and I was like, that doesn't, it wasn't a herb, it wasn't like thyme or mint or anything, and it turned out to be the tomatoes. The tomatoes smelled really, really good. I kind of followed my nose. I was like, I'm not really, I don't really like tomatoes, but to eat, but I was like, wow, those smell amazing. And again, they had all of these. It's the project has grown a lot since the pandemic, and it's a beautiful place to visit. So I pulled up, ready for my little appointment. And I did have to wait a little bit because, of course, you schedule your appointment time, but it's only open for a couple hours, and it's first come, first serve. So I did get there early, but I did wait a little bit. And but it was wonderful. As I was sitting and waiting, I got to talk to people. I got to talk to some of the volunteers, and they were telling me more about the projects that they do. I got to hang out in their library. Oh my God. I am a book person, and it was so cool. I got to read about like everything going on, and then I did get a chance to walk out back and walk through the gardens. And then when it was my turn, I had the sweetest repair person. He really was like this grandfather like person, and he had all of these tools. Like, he brought all of his own tools, right, guys? And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. So when I showed him what was going on with the alarm clock, he was like, okay, I think we can fix this, but what we have to do is we have to unscrew. We actually have to open up the clock. And so there were just 4 screws screwing the clock in, and we got 3 of them out fairly easily, but there was one that was being so difficult. And I know it's one of those things where you don't expect, clocks are probably screwed together by they're probably mass produced by machines, so the machine just drills it down. So I know most of the time these machines are not meant to be opened, and that's why the screw was giving us such difficulty. But if you've ever heard, it was a Phillips head, and it was just this tiny screw, and I felt so bad. We were like, we were really kind of, at one point, one of us was holding it while I had pliers around the screw. I really hope I did not bang up his tools. But he was so good-natured about it. He was like, no, I just want to get this fixed for you. And what happens is when you do fix it, they ring a little bell. They ring a bell like, hey, we fixed it, right? It's celebratory, right? And but that last screw was giving us all sorts of grief. And we eventually had to drill out the screw. Like, it was like, okay, it's not, we're stripping it. When you pull too hard, it'll start to wear down the grooves of the top of the nail, making it almost impossible. So we went ahead, and he said, do I have your permission to just drill through the screw? You probably won't be able to put another screw through it. And I said, that's fine. The other 3 hold it together fairly easily. I don't think that it would be the end of the world. And we were just so close. We got the other 3 screws out. And at this point, he had cut his fingers. So Mr. Henry, bless you, because he was bleeding for my repair here, and I didn't want to take up the whole afternoon, But we had come that far. We had already gotten the other 3 screws out. We drilled through the last one, and it was really interesting because I learned how to do that too. Because there are tools. If you strip a screw, if you wear down the top of the grooves of the screw, there is kind of like, it almost looks kind of spindly, but there is a tool to remove a screw. Like, you almost drill down into the screw and then kind of pull it out. Also, it's possible, we kind of broke off the top of the screw, so there is also a magnet tool that I might be able to actually unscrew it. But there was one little plastic piece that also kind of broke off, that also kind of made sure that it stayed in place. I think there must have been a little bit of glue in there too, but we really, and I know this is a lot of effort to put to fix something, but it was well worth it in the end. We actually opened up, and it was a glorious glorious moment when we finally got it open. It really is like a computer keyboard in there. And, you know, like we talk about on this channel, a lot of metal, you know, a lot of cadmium, a lot of mercury and things like that go into computer keyboards. A lot of these same things that go into your phone, that go into your computer, go into everyday items like your alarm clock. And that's where we really want to use it up and make it last and repair it, rather than just saying, oh, well, it's cheaper, it's less energy for me to just go to Walmart and get a new one. Yeah, it is less energy. It's less time. You don't have to cut yourself. You don't have to fight a screw, but you're also throwing all of that mechanism just into the garbage can without trying to repair it, right? And that's a shame. That's a shame. And honestly, it's very toxic. You shouldn't just be throwing that into the garbage can. If you do have to, you know, and we were talking about this a lot when I was sitting in the waiting room, you know, one lady had a lamp and she was like, I really hope that this doesn't just, if we can't fix it, it might just become garbage, right? And, you know, but it was so sweet because she was like, I want to try to fix it before I just write it off as garbage. And I've replaced lamps, not replaced it, but I've repaired lamps too. I have a lamp that I actually went to a lamp repair place. I'm kind of wishing I had gone to this same repair cafe for it, but I didn't know about it at the time. But circling back, long story short, we got it fixed. And Mr. Henry was my hero. We opened it up and he was showing me all the parts. He was showing me the way, there's of course you can learn about this on YouTube too. But there's little places that touch the front of the clock, and that's what was causing it to kind of make the initial problem that I had was that the numbers were not displaying correctly. But when I came in, the other problem we ran into was that the tuner and the volume were not responsive for the radio side. And so, and my repair person, Mr. Henry, he was so sweet. He was the sweetest man. And he fixed it. He went in there, we cleaned it out. When we finally got it open, we saw the little broken piece that was where the screw went in. We've got the top of the drilled out screw out. There was a little netting from a spider who might have been taking up residence in there. And then I also found a coffee bean, which I feel like was just a good omen. He assured me, he goes, the coffee bean was not in your clock. That must have come from the jar that had the screwdrivers or something. But he let me keep the coffee bean too. So, but it was, now my alarm clock is working. You do see a little bit of a gapping, a little bit. There's a little bit of a opening, and it's hardly noticeable at all from where the one screw is no longer there. But it's been working great. The radio works great. The buzzer works great. It's as if it never broke, and the display works great. So I was glad to fix it rather than throw it away. And again, you know, my repair person was so nice. We talked about a lot of different things. We talked about literature. And I got him a Band-Aid. I felt really bad that my project made him bleed, but he was so good-natured about it, and I just thought it was sweet. You had all these people from your community. The other thing that I always thought was really amazing is, I remember one time years ago when I was in college, I took a photography course, and we actually had to use a real film camera, and I used an older film camera from 1978, and inside the little spool, you know, what the little piece that advances the film, from age, the plastic piece broke, and I didn't want to part with my camera. And I was lucky enough to find someone who would just like my repair person from Repair Cafe, you know, just was familiar with how to repair cameras. Like, he just did it as a hobby in his spare time. And I think that's an artisanship that just doesn't exist anymore, and that's really sad to me. It seems like and you see that amongst everything now, right? instead of repairing something, you just completely replace it, which is really kind of wasteful. And it's honestly kind of toxic, because a lot of times we don't dispose of things properly. We don't take it to the recycling center. We just throw it in the garbage can. And when the what's inside of a camera, what's inside of an alarm clock goes into a landfill, it's leaking a lot of toxic chemicals. That's why you don't just take your television to the landfill. You recycle it, or you try to get the pieces. You try to get what's working out of the machine. But I did get my camera repaired, and I got my alarm clock repaired, and I've had a lamp repaired. And I just kind of think of that when I see modern day appliances. And this is actually really, I think, becoming a problem. I know of 3 people, including my sister and my boss, who had one, what was it, in their refrigerator. The refrigerator, the compressor blew, which is a very little piece, right? But you had to, when it goes and you have to throw out all of the food in your refrigerator, that's a waste. And then you have to call the repairman, if you have a warranty on it. You have to go through all of this trouble, and they may not have the piece, or the way things, I just feel like the way that things are made now are made so cheaply, not because they have to be made cheaply. It's because they want you to buy the same thing over and over and over again. It's more about economy, and honestly, it's more about greed. I just feel like that's kind of where we're at, and that's becoming very wasteful. Now, I know, I know it's one thing to have the refrigerator from the 1970s that was avocado green and not energy efficient at all. But when you bought it, it lasted like 20 years. It might have used a lot of power. It might have outlived us all, but it was a quality piece. And a lot of the reason for that is because if a compressor or some little part of it went, you could replace it easily. But nowadays, and you probably heard it, you probably experienced it, where, oh, I just bought that refrigerator 3 years ago, and they just don't, it died after 2 years, and they told me it's cheaper to buy a new one, and the part to replace it, or the repair to pay for the repair would be more expensive than to buy a new one. You see the same thing with washing machines. You see the same thing with dryers. It's like, they're Energy Star and all these other things, but they're just not quality unless you get it like an industrial grade one. They're just not really made well. And I think it is partially greed. And I think it's because they're getting, we're born consumers, and we get into the pattern of thinking that, oh, well, I'll just replace it. You don't want to think about that. You don't have to throw away an entire washer, entire refrigerator. How wasteful is that because of one little piece? In that same vein, I remember one time my sister had said, and this is how dumb, sometimes it is just the design of something. She had a car that, in order to replace the air filter on the car, which is something you replace quite often, you had to move the engine. Now, of course, you might run into things like that where, okay, this refrigerator was just built really crappily. But, the other side of that is, a lot of people are not really learning trade anymore. And I think that's a shame too. You get kind of in that influence of, oh, go to college, spend $120,000 to learn business, because that's going to get you somewhere in life. But that no one encourages the fact that going to a trade school, learning how to repair cars, learning how to repair, home appliances would not only be the more green avenue, but they pay well. And that is a skill. That's a very, very strong skill. And it's something that we really do need in this world. So I did want to do this video to talk about repair, and exactly like I described today, I had a wonderful experience. I had somebody out of the goodness of their heart come in the second Saturday, and it's their time, completely volunteered. They don't get paid for this, to repair things, anything, alarm clocks, vacuum cleaners. I saw someone had brought in a dehumidifier, and it was really neat. And I feel like we need to see more of that in the world. So I do encourage you to either look for that in your community. If it doesn't exist, maybe try to create that in your community. Encourage quality made things. Buy quality made things. Put your buying dollar towards the service providers that actually make quality appliances, so we can really get back into the stem of making the overall frame last. But just like a car, if there's one part that needs to replace the part. Don't get so greedy that you feel like, oh, okay, well, I need to continue to get your buying dollar. I feel like that just builds a reputation of you making a crappy product, right? It's those quality made products that actually stand behind, that last 10, 15 years, that really go the distance. And it's usually with just general repair. And that saves the environment because you're not throwing away entire appliances every 2 years. That's not necessary. You can repair. Now, one last thing that was really wonderful, and this is a fantastic thing, is that at that same facility, they have a workshop, a wood turning work area, and they have the machinery that you can make furniture. And I'm stupid excited over this. I know that's a silly thing, but I feel like I'm excited for the summer because I'm looking forward to, doing a few sewing projects. I'm looking forward to upcycling some material that I have left over. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit about woodsmithing. And I'm not expecting to do all of these projects this summer. Who knows, maybe I'll get to it. But I have always been fascinated by woodworking, and my great-great-grandfather made furniture, and I was just always curious about that. And I do also feel like that's something that we don't get a chance to do in real life. The other reason I'm kind of fascinated by it is because I was introduced. There's some local tree cutting companies that salvage the trees that they fell, and what they do is they slice up the remaining trees, the ones that are in good shape, the ones that aren't dead, and they kind of give you thin slices of the wood, and you can use that for things like tabletops. You can make things from it, and I don't know how to make things from it, but I would love to learn that and to do these kind of projects, because that's another thing that I feel like we've really gotten away from. Again, we're in such a buy and dispose culture. We don't think about reclaiming wood or turning something that is a leftover byproduct of cutting down trees, which we do all the time. And the beautiful thing about these trees is that when you look at the rungs of a tree, it's like you can see how long it lived, and there's the planks of wood that this reclaimed group does, and again, they do it out of courtesy. They could just throw the trees away, but instead they kind of cut them into really thick kind of planks. And there's different types of wood. There's also beautiful. There's pine, and there's, so I would love to learn how to do something like that. And again, that's not something that you really do anymore. You used to, not even 50 years ago, you used to do that in high school. You used to have wood shop class or home economics. But I'm excited. I think this summer is going to be a fun one. I'm going to be learning how to do things, to, reduce, reuse, recycle, and repair. But I hope that this is giving you some inspiration. Maybe there's something around your house that you can look to repair instead of having to throw away or replace. And honestly, ask in your community. I feel like this repair cafe is such a wonderful idea. I would love to see if that would inspire, because you never know. You might have a woodsmith in your, or a repairman that is in your community. And it's such a way for people to come together, for you to meet your neighbors, and for you to actually learn about stuff like this. And again, I learned so much. I mean, I wouldn't, before this, I did not know that how to remove a screw. But I really thank you for joining me today. I hope it was informative. I'm definitely going to try to do more of these videos, and then we'll get back to more of the fun topics soon. And again, if you like what you see here on my channel, I'd be very appreciative if you would like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.